trapped by the Wild West's deadliest hurricane. She never expected who would save her. The sun burned low over the dusty plains, casting long shadows across the small town of Red Mesa. Clara wiped the sweat from her brow as she hurried between the pens, checking on her father's herd. The wind had picked up, unusual for this time of year, and the smell of ozone hung in the air. Something felt wrong. Clara was used to the harsh desert, the heat, and the sandstorms that came with it. But this was different. The wind carried a strange, electric hum, and the clouds above twisted into shapes she had never seen before. Dark gray and green swirled together, forming a thick wall that seemed to move closer to the town with every passing minute. "Ma, Pa," Clara called out, her voice barely carrying over the rising wind. Her parents were inside the cabin, preparing for whatever this storm might bring. The townsfolk were gathering supplies and reinforcing roofs, but fear had already begun to creep into every face. Clara ran toward a pen at the edge of the property. One of the calves had gotten loose. Its small legs struggled against the sand as it tried to stay ahead of the swirling debris. Clara grabbed a rope and ran, her boots sinking into the soft, shifting sand. The wind hit her face, carrying grit and small stones, but she didn't stop. She had to get the calf to safety. The clouds overhead darkened further, and flashes of strange light illuminated the sky. Clara paused for a moment, shielding her eyes. The lights weren't from lightning. They were smooth, almost metallic, moving above the storm like small stars with purpose. She had never seen anything like them. "What in the world?" she whispered, heart racing. Suddenly, a gust of wind knocked her off balance. She tumbled to the ground, sand filling her mouth and eyes. The calf ran past her, terrified. Clara pushed herself up, coughing, and saw the animal pinned near a broken fence. With effort, she reached the calf, wrapping her arms around it. The wind howled like a living thing, tearing at her hair and clothes. Clara held onto the calf tightly, trying to keep it calm. She knew she needed to get back to the cabin, but the storm was growing stronger. The desert seemed to twist and turn in ways that made her feel dizzy. The sound of the wind was deafening now, carrying strange, mechanical hums and distant thumps. It didn't feel like a normal storm. From the corner of her eye, Clara saw something move in the distance. A shadow shaped like a horse, but it hovered slightly above the ground. She blinked, the winds whipped her hair around, and she rubbed her eyes. When she looked again, the shadow was gone. Her instincts screamed at her to get inside to find shelter, but the path back was blocked by fallen debris. A large branch had snapped from a nearby tree lying across the trail. Clara hesitated. One wrong step and she could be thrown off balance or worse. The storm was alive with movement, and it seemed to respond to her every action. Clara took a deep breath and ran, jumping over the branch. Her heart pounded as she navigated the shifting terrain. Sand and small rocks flew past her, stinging her skin. The calf struggled, but she kept it close, whispering softly to calm it. In the distance, the town looked tiny against the enormous storm. Buildings creaked and groaned under the pressure of the wind. Clara realized that her parents were probably watching from the cabin, worried and unsure if she would make it. The thought gave her strength. She couldn't give up now. As she ran, the strange lights in the sky grew brighter. They moved with purpose, forming patterns that made Clara's stomach twist. She had seen strange things in stories, tales of flying machines and skyships, but this was real. Something beyond her understanding was happening. A sudden blast of wind knocked her to her knees. The calf squirmed and Clara's grip slipped for a moment. Sand filled her eyes and she could barely see. She coughed, dragging the calf with her as she tried to stand. Every step was a struggle, but she refused to let the desert take it. The sound of the storm was now mixed with another noise, a low, vibrating hum that seemed to come from the ground itself. Clara stopped for a moment, heart hammering. She looked around. The earth beneath her feet trembled slightly and small cracks appeared in the desert floor. Something was buried beneath the sands, something powerful. Fear gripped her, but she pushed it aside. Panic would not save her or the calf. She had faced danger before, from wild animals and bandits, but this was different. This was something beyond anything she had ever imagined. Clara saw a small ridge ahead. If she could reach it, she might find some shelter from the worst of the wind. She struggled forward, muscles burning, lungs gasping for air. The calf's small body pressed against hers, frightened and exhausted. She whispered words of encouragement, telling it to hold on, to be brave. The ridge was steeper than it looked. Clara climbed, using every ounce of strength she had. The wind pushed back against her, trying to throw her off balance. Sand shifted under her feet, making each step treacherous. She gritted her teeth and climbed, refusing to let the storm win. At the top, she finally found a small overhang of rock. It was not much, but it would give some protection. Clara pressed herself against it, holding the calf close. The wind howled around her, but for a moment she felt a small sense of safety. She looked up at the sky. The storm was still there, massive and powerful. The strange lights moved closer, hovering above the desert like watchful eyes. Clara shivered. She had no idea what they were or why they had appeared now. All she knew was that the storm was alive and she was trapped in its path. The night fell quickly, faster than usual, and the storm seemed to darken the sky even more. Clara wrapped the calf in her coat, trying to keep it warm. She whispered softly, telling it stories of the ranch, of sunny days and gentle streams, anything to keep hope alive. Suddenly, a flash of light streaked across the sky, and Clara froze. The wind shifted, and she felt a strange pull in the air. The storm was changing, moving in ways she could not predict. She realized she was no longer just fighting the wind and sand. She was facing something intelligent, something that could sense her presence. Clara's mind raced. She thought of her family, of the town, of everything she had known. She could not let the storm destroy it all. She had to survive, and she had to find a way to understand what was happening. The night grew colder, and Clara pressed closer to the calf. She knew that the first hours would be the hardest. The storm had shown its power, and she could feel that the worst was yet to come. But she also knew something else: she was not alone. In the distance, a shadow moved against the storm. Clara squinted, unsure if her eyes were playing tricks on her. It looked like a man, but the way he moved, it was not normal. He stepped closer, his coat fluttering against the wind, and for a moment, Clara felt a strange sense of hope. The storm raged around her, but in that moment, Clara realized that help might be coming. She did not know who it was or what they were, but the shadow moved with purpose, cutting through the chaos like a knife through the night. Clara held her breath, waiting, watching. The storm was deadly, but so was the desert. Yet she felt something stir inside her: determination, courage, and the knowledge that she would not give up no matter what. And as the wind howled and the lights danced above the desert, Clara understood one thing clearly. Survival would take every ounce of her strength, every bit of her courage, and perhaps a little help from the stranger who had appeared in the storm. The night stretched on, the storm screaming around her, but Clara held on, her eyes fixed on the horizon, her heart filled with determination. Tomorrow, she promised herself, she would face whatever came next. She would not be defeated. Not by the wind, not by the sand, and not by the unknown power that had trapped her in the Wild West's deadliest hurricane. Clara huddled under the rocky overhang, holding the small calf close. The storm continued to rage, howling like a living beast, tossing sand and debris in every direction. She could barely see through the swirling dust, but she kept her eyes on the shadow that had appeared earlier. It had not disappeared. Instead, it moved closer, cutting through the chaos with a steady, calm pace. The shadow became clearer as it approached. It was a man, tall and strong, dressed in worn leather, but not like the typical cowboys of Red Mesa. His coat had strange seams that glowed faintly, and small lights blinked along his boots and belt. He carried a long staff with a glowing tip that seemed to hum softly, reacting to the storm's energy. Clara's heart raced. She had never seen anything like him before. The man called out, his voice firm but calm over the wind. "Hey, are you all right?" Clara shouted back. I think so. I'm stuck here with this calf." She waved her hands, hoping he could see her through the sandstorm. "Hold on, I'll get you out," the man replied. Clara felt a mix of relief and fear. Could she trust him? The town had warned everyone about strangers, but this man did not seem ordinary. He moved with purpose, stepping lightly over rocks and sand as if the storm could not touch him. His coat and boots seemed to shield him from the worst of the wind, and the glowing lights along his body made him look almost otherworldly. Before Clara could call again, he reached her overhang. "Grab my hand," he shouted. Clara hesitated for only a moment, then climbed from her hiding spot, holding the calf tight. She reached for his hand. The moment her fingers touched his, she felt a strange warmth, a steadying force that cut through the storm. He pulled her close and shielded her with his body. The wind buffeted them, but somehow it felt easier with him there. Who are you?" Clara asked, shouting over the noise. "I'm Jace," he said. I'm from far away, I study storms, this one is not normal, we need to move quickly before it gets worse. Clara nodded, unsure what he meant by far away, but she trusted him. She did not have a choice. She followed as he led her and the calf down a narrow path along the ridge. The wind pushed against them, but Jace moved like he had walked through hurricanes before. Every step was calculated. He used his staff to stabilize himself and clear sand from their path. "This way," he shouted, pointing to a small hollow in the rocks. It offered temporary shelter. Clara ran toward it, clutching the calf. The storm whipped around them, shaking rocks loose and sending small avalanches of sand. She stumbled, but Jace was there to catch her. Inside the hollow, the wind was less intense. Clara sank to her knees, breathing heavily. The calf nuzzled against her, frightened but alive. She looked at Jace. "I don't understand. Why is this happening? Storms don't come like this in the desert." Jace knelt beside her, his glowing staff pulsing softly. "This storm, it's being caused by something buried beneath the desert, something powerful, it's not natural." Clara frowned, trying to comprehend. "Something buried, like treasure or—" "Not treasure," Jace said carefully. "Something far older, something not from here. It has power beyond anything humans have seen, and it's reacting to the storm, making it stronger." Clara's eyes widened. "Not from here, you mean alien?" Jace nodded. "Yes, and if we do not stop it, the storm could destroy the town, maybe even the entire region. I need your help." Clara's mind raced. She had faced dangers before, wild animals, bandits, rough terrain, but this was different. This was a force she could barely understand, and yet she felt a strange trust in Jace. He was calm, confident, and he clearly knew what he was doing. I'll help," she said finally. "But what can I do?" Jace smiled faintly. "You know this land better than anyone. I have technology to fight the storm, but I need someone who understands the desert, the rocks, the paths. Together we can reach the source." Clara swallowed hard. She had never thought of herself as a hero, but now, with her town at risk and this strange man depending on her, she felt a surge of determination. "All right, let's do it." They set out, moving carefully down the ridge. The wind was fierce, and the sand cut at their skin, but Jace's staff emitted a soft light that shielded them, forming a protective bubble around their path. Clara held the calf close, keeping it calm as they went. The storm grew stronger as they approached the desert floor. The lights in the sky moved closer too, weaving through the clouds like glowing fireflies. Clara had never seen anything so beautiful and terrifying at the same time. As they moved, Jace explained. "The device buried under the sand is generating energy. It draws power from the atmosphere, from the heat and movement, and uses it to fuel the storm. We need to shut it down or redirect the energy." Clara's brow furrowed. "Redirect the energy? How? I don't have any special tools." "You have courage," Jace said with a small smile. "And you know the land. That is more important than any tool right now." They reached a flat stretch of desert, and the ground beneath their feet trembled. Small cracks opened, sending sprays of sand into the air. Clara's heart pounded as she realized how close they were. Jace set the calf down gently. "It's too dangerous for it to come further. Stay here and keep it safe. I'll scout ahead, but I need you to be ready to help if I call." Clara nodded, feeling both fear and resolve. She watched as Jace moved forward, staff glowing, cutting through the storm's fury. He seemed to move with ease, almost dancing among the whipping winds. She could barely follow, but she stayed close, remembering the paths and rocks he would need to navigate. Ahead, they saw a strange glow beneath the sand. A faint hum vibrated through the ground. Clara's stomach twisted. The alien device was close. It pulsed with energy, sending waves through the desert and whipping the storm higher. Lightning arced unnaturally from the clouds, striking the ground near them. "We have to be careful," Jace shouted over the wind. "One wrong move and it could react violently." Clara swallowed, but she kept moving, following Jace's lead. She saw a mound of sand and metal, half buried, pulsing with light. Strange markings ran along its surface, glowing faintly. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. Jace crouched beside it, examining the device. This is far beyond anything humans built," he said. "It's alien and it's unstable. If we don't shut it down soon, the storm will grow even worse." Clara's hands shook, but she took a deep breath. "What do I do?" "You hold this," Jace said, handing her a small, glowing panel. "It will help stabilize the energy, but you have to stay steady. The device responds to motion and force. Too much, and it will react violently." Clara nodded, holding the panel tightly. It was warm against her hands, and she felt a faint hum running through her fingers. The storm roared around them, but with Jace guiding her, she felt a small sense of control. They worked together, moving carefully around the device. Clara followed Jace's instructions, adjusting the panel, shifting her weight as he told her. Every movement mattered. One mistake could send a blast of energy through the desert, destroying everything. Minutes felt like hours, but slowly the storm began to change. The wind softened slightly, and the violent flashes of light in the sky dimmed. Clara's heart lifted, but she knew the danger was not over. The device still pulsed, still powerful, and they had to finish the task. Jace moved closer to the device, placing his staff against its surface. The glowing tip emitted a steady beam of light that interacted with Clara's panel. Together, they formed a circuit of energy, stabilizing the device temporarily. Clara felt the hum through her body, a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. "Almost there," Jace shouted. "Keep it steady," Clara focused, holding the panel with all her strength. The device pulsed brighter, then dimmed slightly. The storm around them began to lose some of its strength. Sand settled, and the wind slowed to a more manageable level. For a brief moment, Clara allowed herself to breathe. They were making progress. The device was still active, but with careful work, they could shut it down completely. As they prepared for the next step, Clara glanced at Jace. He looked calm, focused, but she noticed a small smile on his face. He trusted her, and that gave her courage. Together, in the middle of the desert, surrounded by a storm unlike any other, Clara and Jace fought against the unknown. The night was far from over, but for the first time, Clara felt that survival was possible, not just for herself, but for the town she loved and the life she had always known. The storm was deadly, the desert merciless, and the device mysterious. But Clara knew one thing: she would not give up, and she would not face it alone. Clara gripped the glowing panel tightly, feeling the strange hum travel through her fingers. The desert around them had grown eerily quiet. The wind, though still strong, was no longer whipping sand and debris at impossible speeds. The storm had calmed, but it was far from over. Somewhere beneath the sand, the alien device pulsed steadily, a heart of power waiting to explode. Jace crouched beside her, staff glowing, eyes scanning the horizon. "We're close," he said. "The device is almost stabilized, but this last step, it's going to take everything we have." Clara swallowed hard, her heart racing. Her arms ached from holding the panel, but she knew she could not let go. Not now. She looked at the strange markings on the device, carved into smooth metal like symbols from another world. Each one seemed to pulse with energy as if the machine were alive. "What do I do next?" she asked, her voice firm despite the fear in her chest. "You have to synchronize with me," Jace said. "Your panel will channel energy from the device into my staff. We have to guide it safely back into the ground without triggering a reaction. One wrong move and the storm will get stronger, maybe unstoppable." Clara nodded. She took a deep breath, centering herself. She had faced danger before: sandstorms, wild animals, even angry bandits, but nothing like this. This was alive, powerful, and beyond anything she had ever known. Yet she felt a strange sense of control. Jace's calm presence gave her courage, and the panel in her hands felt like a key, a tool she could use to make a difference. They moved carefully toward the device. The sand shifted beneath their feet, and the ground trembled slightly with each step. The glowing lights in the sky pulsed faster, reacting to the energy below. Clara realized that the storm was still connected to the device. As long as it pulsed, the hurricane above would remain dangerous. "Steady," Jace said. "Focus on the panel, match your rhythm to mine." Clara adjusted her grip, feeling the hum intensify. The energy coursing through her hands was warm and vibrating. She followed Jace's movements, raising and lowering the panel as he directed. A small stream of glowing energy began to flow from the device, guided by Clara's panel into Jace's staff. For a moment, everything seemed to work perfectly. The storm above slowed, and the lights in the sky flickered less wildly. Clara felt a surge of relief. "We're doing it," she shouted over the wind. But then the device pulsed more violently, brighter than before. A shockwave of energy shot upward, and the wind roared again, stronger than ever. Sand and debris whipped around them, forcing Clara to dig her boots into the ground to stay upright. Jace shouted, "Hold on, it's reacting to the energy flow. We have to adjust." Clara tightened her grip, moving the panel in time with Jace's staff. Sparks of light flew from the device, arcs of energy striking the sand and forming small lightning bolts. The air smelled of ozone, and the desert trembled beneath their feet. She felt the power trying to throw her off balance, but she refused to let go. "We're almost there," Jace shouted, sweat mixing with grit on his face. "Just a little more." Clara's muscles burned, her arms shaking from holding the panel. The calf huddled behind her, scared but quiet, as if sensing that this was a moment of life and danger. She focused on the device, on the rhythm of energy, on Jace's calm voice guiding her. The pulse of the machine grew slower, steadier, and Clara realized that the energy was beginning to flow properly into the staff. The wind above softened again, and the violent arcs of lightning disappeared. The storm was weakening, but the device had one last burst of power. A beam of light shot upward, splitting the sky, and the ground beneath them shook violently. Clara stumbled, almost dropping the panel. She gritted her teeth and adjusted, letting the energy pass through her hands and into Jace's staff. Jace braced himself, holding the staff steady. "Keep it flowing, don't stop," he shouted. Clara focused all her strength, all her courage, into maintaining the connection. The pulse of energy vibrated through her body, but she held firm. Slowly, the device began to dim, its glow fading to a soft light. The shaking of the ground stopped, and the wind calmed further. The storm above broke apart, the clouds scattering, revealing the moon and stars for the first time that night. Clara sank to her knees, exhausted but relieved. The calf nuzzled her, and she whispered softly, soothing both of them. Jace lowered his staff, smiling faintly. "We did it," he said. "The device is stable now. The storm is over." Clara exhaled deeply, letting the tension leave her body. She had never been this scared in her life, but also never this proud. She had faced something beyond her world, something she could not fully understand, and she had survived. You're amazing," Clara said, looking at Jace. "I don't know how you do all that," Jace chuckled softly. "I've seen a lot of storms," he said, "but it's not just me. You helped. Without you, this would have failed." Clara smiled faintly. I guess we make a good team." They walked back toward the ridge where Clara had first taken shelter. The desert was quiet now, the air cool and calm. The moonlight reflected off the sand, making the world look peaceful, almost unreal after the chaos they had faced. "Are you going to leave now?" Clara asked, glancing at Jace. "I have to," he said, "but not yet. The device needs monitoring for a few hours. I want to make sure it doesn't reactivate unexpectedly." Clara nodded. "I'll stay with it. I can do that." Jace looked at her with respect. "I think you can handle anything, Clara. You have courage, intelligence, and heart. That's rare." Clara felt a warmth in her chest. Compliments were unusual for her, but coming from Jace, it meant something. "Thank you," she said simply. They set up a small camp near the device. Clara kept the calf close while Jace monitored the machine with his staff. The lights along his coat and boots glowed softly, illuminating the desert around them. For the first time that night, Clara felt a sense of calm. The danger was not completely gone, but they had survived the worst. "Tell me something," Clara said after a while. "Why did you come here? Why the desert?" Jace looked up at the sky. "I travel to places where unusual energy appears. This desert, it was different. The readings were off the charts. I came to study it to understand it, and maybe to help." Clara nodded. "Well, I'm glad you came. If you hadn't, I don't know what would have happened." Jace smiled faintly. "You would have found a way, Clara. Humans always do." "That's why I study you." Clara blinked, surprised. "Me?" "Yes," Jace said. "Your courage, your quick thinking, it's remarkable. Humans can survive anything if they work together, if they trust each other, and tonight you proved it." Clara felt a mix of pride and humility. She had never thought of herself as remarkable, but Jace's words made her realize that she had faced her fears, and she had made a difference. Hours passed as they kept watch over the device. The storm had faded entirely, leaving the desert calm and quiet. The moon reflected off the sand, painting the world in silver. Clara watched the sky, her mind still racing from the events of the night. She had seen something beyond her understanding, something powerful and strange, and she had survived. "Tomorrow," Jace said, "we'll need to move the device deeper underground. It's still dangerous if left exposed, but for now, rest. You've earned it." Clara nodded, feeling the exhaustion hit her. She wrapped herself around the calf and leaned against a rock, closing her eyes. For a moment, she allowed herself to rest, to feel safe. The night was calm, and Clara knew that the desert would never seem the same again. She had faced something extraordinary and had survived with a stranger who had become her ally. She realized that life on the frontier was bigger than she had ever imagined. There were dangers she could not predict, forces she could not fully understand, but she had the strength to face them. As she drifted off to sleep, Clara made a promise to herself. She would protect her town, her family, and her land. And if the desert had more mysteries, more storms, more challenges, she would face them with courage, with determination, and with allies she could trust. The storm was gone, but the adventure was far from over. The desert was quiet now, the storm completely gone. The moon hung low in the sky, casting silver light over the sand and rocks. Clara sat near the alien device, the small calf beside her still trembling slightly from the night's chaos. Jace crouched next to the device, his glowing staff pulsing softly as he monitored it. "We need to move it," Jace said. "Even stable, it cannot stay near the surface. If left exposed, it could reactivate or someone else could find it." Clara nodded, determination in her eyes. "How do we move it? It looks huge and heavy." Jace smiled faintly. "It's heavier than anything you've seen, yes, but I have a way. My staff can lift and stabilize it, and your panel can control the energy flow. Together, we can carry it safely." Clara took a deep breath. Her muscles ached, her arms were sore from holding the panel, but she felt ready. The night had already tested her courage, and now she had a chance to finish what they had started. Jace adjusted the glowing staff against the device, and a soft hum began to rise, blending with the vibrations in Clara's panel. Slowly, the device lifted from the sand. It hovered slightly above the ground, glowing faintly, stable but still full of power. Clara held the panel steady, feeling the energy flow through her hands, keeping it balanced. The desert seemed to hold its breath as they moved forward. Each step required care. The ground was uneven, rocks hidden beneath the sand, and even a small stumble could send the device tumbling. But Clara focused, moving carefully, following Jace's instructions. "Keep it steady," Jace said. "Don't let the energy spike. If it does, the storm could return." Clara adjusted the panel, feeling the pulse of the device. She had never felt anything like this before. The energy was alive, almost like a heartbeat, reacting to their movements and their focus. She realized that they were not just moving a machine. They were guiding it, speaking to it through energy, asking it to trust them. Hours passed as they carried the device. The desert's silence was broken only by the soft hum of the panel and staff, and the occasional gust of wind. Clara's arms ached, but she refused to let go. She thought of the town, her family, and the lives they had saved. That thought pushed her forward, giving her strength. Finally, they reached a small canyon, a natural depression in the desert. The area was protected by high rock walls, making it a perfect place to hide the device safely underground. Jace placed the staff on the ground, holding the device steady. Clara adjusted the panel one last time, ensuring the energy flow remained smooth. "This is it," Jace said. "We need to lower it carefully into the cavern below. Are you ready?" Clara nodded. "Ready." Together, they guided the device into a narrow crevice. The energy pulsed gently, as if the machine understood they were helping it. Clara adjusted the panel, aligning the energy flow with the contours of the cavern. Slowly, the device descended, settling safely on the rocky floor. The glow dimmed, the vibrations calmed, and for the first time, Clara felt complete relief. "We did it," she whispered, her voice trembling with exhaustion and pride. Jace smiled. "Yes, the storm is gone, the device is safe, and the town will be protected. You did well, Clara, better than anyone could have expected." Clara blushed faintly. "I couldn't have done it without you." "You made all the difference," Jace said. "You have courage, intelligence, and heart. That's why this worked." For a moment they sat in silence, listening to the soft hum of the device settling into the cavern. The moonlight filtered through the canyon, illuminating the sand and rocks around them. Clara looked at the sky, feeling a sense of peace she had not felt since the storm began. "I can't believe it's over," she said. "The town, everyone there safe?" "Yes," Jace said. "They're safe, and you've proven that humans are remarkable. Even in the face of danger with forces beyond their understanding, you can survive. You can make a difference." Clara smiled faintly. She had always thought of herself as ordinary, just a rancher's daughter on the frontier. But now she realized that courage and determination could make anyone extraordinary. The calf nuzzled her, and she patted it gently. "You were brave, too," she said. "We both survived, didn't we?" Jace stood and stretched. "We should get back to the town before sunrise. The people will be worried, and you need rest." Clara nodded. "All right, let's go." They made their way back across the desert. The ground was calm, the sand settled, and the air cool. Stars dotted the sky, twinkling above them like tiny guardians. Clara felt a sense of wonder. The world was bigger than she had imagined, full of mysteries, challenges, and adventures waiting to be discovered. As they approached Red Mesa, the town lay quiet under the moonlight. Buildings were damaged in some places, but nothing was destroyed. The townsfolk had taken shelter during the storm, and now they would wake to a new day, unaware of the full danger they had narrowly escaped. Clara felt a surge of pride. She had faced something extraordinary, something beyond the desert and beyond her understanding, and she had survived. She had protected the town, the herd, and the people she loved. Jace turned to her. "You've done well tonight." "The town is safe because of you," Clara smiled faintly. "Thank you, Jace. I don't know what I would have done without you." "You don't have to know," Jace said. "You acted, and that was enough." They walked into the town together, the first rays of sunrise beginning to paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. Clara felt the warmth of the morning sun on her face, a reminder that life continued, even after the most terrifying night. As they reached the ranch, Clara's parents ran out, worry etched on their faces. "Clara, are you all right?" her father shouted. "I'm fine," Clara called back. "And the calf, too," her mother hugged her tightly. "We were so worried, the storm, it was like nothing we've ever seen." Clara smiled. "It's over now, everything's fine." Jace stepped back slightly, giving her space to reunite with her family. Clara noticed the faint glow of his staff and the lights along his coat. He seemed otherworldly, but also reassuring, a guardian in the night. As her parents led her and the calf inside, Jace spoke softly. "I should leave soon. My work is not done here, and there are other places that need my help." Clara nodded, feeling a pang of sadness. "Will I see you again?" Jace smiled faintly. "Perhaps. The desert is full of mysteries, and sometimes paths cross again when they are meant to." Clara watched as he mounted a strange, hovering horse-like craft. It lifted smoothly off the ground, lights flickering softly as it rose into the sky. The town below looked small, peaceful, and safe. "Goodbye, Jace," Clara whispered. "Goodbye, Clara," he replied, his voice carrying in the morning air. "Remember, courage and heart can overcome anything." He disappeared over the horizon, leaving Clara with a sense of wonder and hope. She looked at the desert, the town, and the sky, knowing that the world was bigger than she had ever imagined. There were dangers and mysteries out there, but she had learned that she could face them. She had survived, and she had made a difference. Clara turned back to the ranch, the first rays of sunlight warming her face. She thought of the night, of the storm, of the alien device, and of Jace. She realized that courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to face it. She had chosen courage, and she had saved her town. The desert stretched out before her, calm and quiet, but she knew it would never be the same. She had seen what lay beyond, had faced something extraordinary, and had come out stronger. And she knew that if the desert held more challenges, more mysteries, she would face them, with courage, with determination, and perhaps with allies she could trust. Clara led the calf back to the pen, her steps steady and sure. The town slowly awoke, the sun rising higher, illuminating the plains and the buildings in soft gold. Life would continue as it always did, but Clara had changed. She had faced the unknown and survived, and she would never forget the night when the Wild West's deadliest hurricane had tested her courage. As she stood at the top of the ridge, looking over her home, Clara felt a quiet pride. She had survived the storm, protected the town, and discovered a new strength within herself. And though Jace was gone, she knew that their paths might cross again, somewhere in the vast desert or beyond, in a world full of mysteries waiting to be explored. The desert was calm. The storm was gone, and Clara, rancher's daughter, had proven that courage, determination, and a strong heart could face even the most impossible challenges. The adventure had ended, but the future was full of possibilities, and Clara was ready to meet them.